For 5 years, I kept my own special kind of bucket list. It was my things I'll do when I'm skinny list. My bike around Amsterdam in booty shorts list. My own skinny jeans in a bikini list. It was my one day I'll be beautiful list and my then I will start living list. It was a maybe I could be worth something list. So each night I sat and imagined a tool that would let me carve layers off my body. I imagined cutting off pieces of me and giving them to boys in the hope that if they could not love all of me, maybe they could at least love part of me. Maybe that would be easier to swallow. And still, I kept the list. When I am skinny, I will take my clothes off before sex. When I am skinny, I will do the heartbreaking. I lived eternally torn between wanting to love myself and wanting to lose myself. I carved the word enough into my thigh because I only felt worthy of love letters that caused pain and compliments that made me bleed. But it turns out that hating your own body is exhausting, especially when the rest of the world is already doing it for you. So one day I put that list in a drawer and I started trying to unlearn all the problematic things we teach about bodies. See, I was raised to believe that compliments on my thinness would satisfy any hunger. Body shaming was my Bible, but I know we can teach something better. So I stopped longing for boys who could only love me skinny and started longing for boys who were better instead. I rewatched all the Disney movies I loved as a child, but this time I made sure to notice that Ursula was just as hot as Ariel. I reread the Harry Potter books and I imagined Hermione as a fat girl, and it didn't change what a badass heroine she was or the fact that everyone in that series would have died without her. I realized that envying other girls' bodies didn't make me any happier and their beauty didn't have to take away from mine. So I stopped thinking about all the times that this body has been made to feel worthless and started focusing on the fact that this body is my living, breathing miracle instead. I stopped pinching and scratching this stomach and these thighs in favor of tracing gentle lines over my stretch marks and thanking these legs for not shaking when I speak the truth. And somewhere among all of this, it happened. Teaching myself to love other fat bodies made me finally start to fall in love with mine. One day I looked down at my skinny list and all I saw was a bucket list. That night I stood in front of the mirror and said, I am enough. I am enough, until it didn't hurt anymore. And it was the love letter my body deserved.
On lockdown, a week was a month, and a month was cosmic. We aged like dogs age, I hoped. Exponentially wiser. I missed the neons. But George Floyd's 846 stoked something older on an order more systemic that broke the fever of the pandemic and brought to light a darker and lonelier disease. We are more vulnerable by far than is realized by even our least sung, furthest flung, and most compromised. Every second now is eons.
How to be an Irish emigrant. Be born in Ireland. Leave. Not for England. For the love of God, they will only claim you as one of their own. Go somewhere different enough, like Canada, Australia, Thailand, or Mars if you have to. But that said, If the far side of town isn't far or exotic enough, what's your problem? Come home often. Suddenly be really into trad music, Dublin slang and tourism adverts. Smile at familiar flags, but sceptical of those hanging outside pubs. Pronounce 3 and tree differently. Otherwise, expect the number 9 when you asked for a small forest. Avoid London. It will feel a little bit too much like home. Discover Victorianism. How many names there can actually be for a bread roll and Boxing Day. But don't ever call it Boxing Day. Get used to people wishing they could visit. And when they do, roll out the vinyl tablecloth and feast on chicken fillet rolls, red lemonade, Tay-O crisp sandwiches and a real pint of Guinness, which, yes, is obviously better at home. Arm yourself with this fact to brighten awkward taxi journeys and new colleagues. Call it home and home. Discover that the word is a wide stance across separate shores, and when you are called not really foreign, it will feel like a swift kick in the ocean, but it has nothing to do with rotting roots, and all to do with history books buried behind British teeth. Remind them that you are extrinsic. Reel off pigeon phrases of your second tongue risen from dusty classrooms. Sing Pogue Mahone and call it poetry. Support the NHS. Learn the difference between the British Isles and the United Kingdom. Know their fractured history so you can stand your ground regardless of who it belongs to. Never compare the Irish slave trades to any other and challenge those who do. Remind them of clinging to American steeples while the black bodies burned that the oppressed are masters of tradition. Remember coffin ships when you see dinghies. How borders are as man-made as terror and kindness. Know the history of your privilege sits somewhere between sovereignty and the exiled, and let that be turf for warmth. Call your mother more. Know that mate is meant to sound somehow endearing. Shut up and listen. It would be such a shame to come this far and learn nothing. Work like a fucking Paddy. Never allow yourself to be called Paddy, or Mick, or drunk, unless you are. Pack old myth and solstice wherever you might go because you never know where you might need them. Just tell people you're from Dublin. Be proud, but progressive. Remember, but relinquish. Commemorate, but transgress. Spill the parting glass once for the land, once for present company, and once for the road ahead. Let go. Your heritage is not a competition. It is the co-captain of a loyal but untrained crew. Reconcile how change strikes abruptly now, instead of incremental with home's objective permanence. Open your heart to whichever surrogate city will have you. But most importantly, loosen your grip, because leaving doesn't have to be a knife.